And now, it's time for our thing of the week. So the thing of the week this week is food. And with me are my two guests, Dr. Sprigg Wakeman
Hi.
and Dr. Viktor Hastings.
Hello there.
So today we're going to be talking about food and what it is. Everybody loves food. So I'm just going to ask you two to start off. What is food? Dr. Sprigg Wakeman, you can go first.
All right. So food is it's what powers us. It's our fuel. It's nutrition. Food, the analogy I kind of use sometimes is food is like gasoline, that you would put in your car.
Okay.
But it's for humans, and I think it's really interesting to think about how we might actually bridge that gap so that the food that you put in your car could one day be the food that you put in your own body, and vice versa. So we could have a one-stop food shop for your car and your body.
So you're talking about this is something you're researching right now.
Oh yes.
So it'd be kind of like a combination of food and gasoline, kind of like ethanol, but for people.
Exactly, like some sort of gasoline infused casserole, something like that.
Interesting. Oh, and before we start, or before we continue, I'd like to remind everybody listening that the opinions expressed on this show are not the opinions of the Board of Trustees, the Student Union, the President, or anybody but us three, myself and my two guests. So now we'll go to Dr. Hastings. Dr. Hastings, what is food to you? What do you think it is?
So, food is a very interesting thing in that it's just all around us, and it's in our lives, and you can't really get away from it. And if you do, you die, which nobody really wants that.
Oh no.
But food is pretty much all that we have been and all that we will be.
Wow.
Food is it's why we're here, and it's why we have sort of made the things that we have made, and it is our past, our present, our future, and whatever the fourth state of matter is, it's probably that too.
Wow. So it's really, you're kind of taking like a holistic view.
Yes.
Of
Except
this.
it's like scientific at the same time. It's been proven.
Yes. Okay. So now we'll go to Dr. Wakeman. So Dr. Wakeman, as we all know, food can be arranged into something called a food pyramid, and food pyramids were invented by the ancient Egyptians to store their food.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays we use it to organize and categorize it. So when I was a little boy, the old food pyramid, we had three things, which would stack in a triangle or a pyramid, and it was bread, meats, and plants, and those were your three food groups. But now that's changed a lot. The science is different. So what's the new food pyramid now? How are you organizing it now?
So we've had this conventional idea of the food pyramid for decades, and only recently, are we figuring out that that's really not the best way to categorize food, because categorizing food by, whether it's a bread or a meat or a plant it's all well and good for, organizing store shelves, but it really doesn't tell you a lot about the nutritional value of the food that you're eating. So my research team has been developing a new system that will more accurately categorize food based on the nutritional impact for each different ingredient. And it's a three-pronged system, and the main three are your slimy. You got your slugs, your snails.
Right.
You got your strange. Some pastas Some oddly shaped pastas fall under this.
Oh, there's the ones that are like the little wheels.
The
Those
little
are
wheels.
so much fun. I love
The
those.
little
They are
the
fun.
wheel pastas. They are very strange.
They are. It looks like they belong on a tiny pasta car, not in your big human stomach.
That's
Which
right.
I guess sort of goes back to the whole like food and the gasoline for the cars and the humans. I mean, we're already on the way with these wheel pastas.
Exactly.
That's
you know,
right.
we're gonna get moving when we eat this wheel pasta.
That's right. So
And
that's
the,
why
and the
it's in the strange.
that's in the strange.
Yes.
And then we have the third one, crunchy. These are your chips, your crackers, other kinds of chips.
So things that they make a sound when you bite down on them.
Yep.
They're hard and brittle.
Yeah, there's like a sound threshold for requirement for crunchiness.
Like carrots.
Carrots are pretty crunchy. Yeah.
What about pickles?
Pickles, it depends on the pickle. Some of them have a good snap, but some of them are just.
I find that the ones you get in restaurants are much less.
Oh, they're
They're much
perfect.
less snappy. No,
No?
I don't. I personally do not like those.
See, those pickles would go under slimy, but we do have crunchy pickles. It's a real granular system because it's about individual foods, not just food as a concept.
That's right. Okay, I think I understand now. So now let's go to Dr. Hastings, and Dr. Hastings has been doing science work at NASA to develop food for astronauts. So, Dr. Hastings, what are some of the differences between space food and Earth food?
Yeah, so I guess the simplest way to sort of explain this is to go way back to when we were, we had to hunt for all of our food, and the food would sort of run away from us. And
Yes.
and as time sort of progressed, and we sort of came up with like much better ways to actually get food, the gravity on Earth actually started to increase, which meant that our food could no longer like run away from us. But the problem is once you go into space, which has little to no gravity, the food is suddenly allowed to run from us, like it did thousands and thousands of years ago.
That's right.
Yes.
So it's not in a package anymore when it's in space.
Oh.
It's just out there.
It is in
it's
the
moving
wild.
around. There's no. It is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a jungle up there in
Yes.
space.
It really is.
It's a space jungle.
Yeah.
So, what are you doing to combat that?
Well, the main thing is that we're surgically so what you kind of have to do with the food is you either have to break it down until it's in such small parts that they can't move as a sort of cohesive whole. So like taking like a hamburger and just kind of mashing it sort of into a paste so that it can't move,
Right.
and then the astronauts can eat that, or you just sort of pump it full of like sedatives so that it just falls asleep and you can eat the food while it's in this sort of snooze mode.
So you're getting it into like a stable form of matter.
Yes.
Wow. So, what about space ice cream, which I know like everybody loves? Like when I go to the Space Museum, I'll get some of that space ice cream for me and the kids.
Yeah.
So what have you? How does that work?
So, as you probably know, the cream as is usually kept frozen. That's why it's ice cream, which is what sort of gives it that like nice sort of ice cream feel. And as you know, there is pretty much nothing colder than space. So when you take the cream and you put it in space and you put it outside in space where all the cold is, it freezes and you actually get the purest form of iced cream
Right.
that you possibly can. So what you're eating when you get that space ice cream is actually not really even it is space ice cream, but
Right.
it is the purest form of ice cream that we can possibly have.
Wow. That's really
amazing.
That's really good stuff. Well, now I'd like to ask you both about a subject that is very near and dear to all of our hearts. It's a little thing called pizza. And, there's
pizza.
many different kinds of pizza. There's the New York pizza, which is the best pizza. There's the Chicago deep dish pizza, which is, of course, the worst pizza. And, of course, you got all the different toppings in between. So there's many, many different kinds of pizzas. So, at first we'll ask Dr. Wakeman, what are you doing to, what are you doing to develop? Are you working on developing new kinds of pizzas with the scientists? And how do you look at pizza as a food researcher?
Well, yes, we're absolutely working on new pizzas. Because pizzas existed for such a long time, people often forget that it's a human creation, and that to make advancements in pizza flavors, we need to act. It's not just something that just happens. Pizzas aren't present in nature.
Right.
So what we've actually been working on, we have some of the equipment that was used to make the original pizzas. The pizza box is what we call it. But this isn't just a regular, cardboard pizza box.
Oh, no?
No, this is a special science pizza box.
A science pizza box.
Yeah, it has a lot of science in it. And so what we do, we put the what we call the seeds of the pizza in the pizza box. A little bit of dough, a little bit of the sauce, a little bit of cheese, all that. And what comes out is it's a full pizza, but we don't know what it's going to be.
Wow.
See, pizzas were created pretty much by chance, because when you put the pizza seeds in the box, the pizza in the box is at we call it a pizza superposition, where we don't know what flavor it's going to be until we actually observe it.
So it's a mystery.
Yeah, it's a mystery pizza.
It's like Schrodinger's cat or whatever.
Exactly, but with pizza, and the thing is, see, at first we had our cheese, we had our pepperoni pizzas, the basics, because those are the most common pizzas we can observe when we remove them from the box. But recently we've had some really exciting flavors. One of my favorites was actually a variant on Hawaiian that we called the Super Hawaiian.
The Super Hawaiian.
Yeah, so it came out, and most of the pizza was, ham and pineapple. And then, the little plastic pizza table you get in the middle when you get delivery?
Yes.
So there was actually a tiny Hawaiian man standing at that table eating a smaller Hawaiian pizza. And it was all edible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Are there any other kinds of pizza that have, developed out of this?
Well, there's a double chicken bacon ranch, which we're working on, which we've only managed to successfully execute it once, but it's basically each piece of chicken contains another piece of chicken, and so you get double chicken flavor and also the bacon ranch.
Like a nested.
Yeah.
It's like a nested chicken.
It's kind of like a turducken, but it's a
pizza.
chicken. It's two chickens.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, now let's talk to Dr. Hastings. So, Dr. Hastings, how are you developing pizza for NASA? Are you using like kind of like frozen
Yes.
frozen pizzas?
So, fun story about frozen pizza. So as I sort of talked a little bit about before, space is the coldest thing that we know of. So most of our frozen foods actually come from space. So the sort of creation of frozen pizza was actually a complete accident. There was a space shuttle launch, late 90s, early 2000s, that was going to the International Space Station.
Right.
And someone actually managed to sort of like smuggle on board an entire Brooklyn pizzeria.
Wow.
And really, the hold was supposed to be full of like space equipment. I don't know what it's called, but instead it had a pizzeria, and so they tried to sort of just like put that in place of where all the other stuff was like supposed to go. But as you know, Brooklyn pizzerias are not exactly like airtight.
Right.
So the
That's right.
space leaked in and it froze everybody, all the people, all the workers, all the pizza. And when we sort of extracted this frozen pizza, we realized that if you reheated it, it tasted almost just as good as normal pizza, and you could sell it, and people absolutely loved it. And so really, all frozen pizza comes from this frozen pizzeria that is on the International Space Station.
Wow.
Yeah.
So really, like, NASA. So NASA is producing the majority of the pizza, the frozen pizza in the United States.
Yeah, about I'd say about 85%, because we like to give we do sell to like smaller companies, because of course we don't want to have, control over the market. That would
Right.
be unethical.
That would.
But unfortunately, we do have the sort of the only source to it. But since it is on the International Space Station, it is technically free. Like, I guess, a fair game for all the other countries. So really, it's bringing us frozen pizza. Yeah, is bringing us together as a global community.
Wow.
Which is really what the like, even if it didn't really start out that way, that's what the International Space Station is about now.
Wow. Well, as somebody who, eats a lot of frozen pizza, I do live alone. So, I'd like to thank you guys for doing what you're doing, what NASA's doing. I know that a lot of people think that space is irrelevant, but you just reheat one of those frozen pizzas and you tell me if that's not true.
Yeah.
So thank you all for bringing us all this frozen pizza that we have.
I would like to thank you as well for actually buying that, because
You're welcome.
The frozen pizza, the funds from that fund about 70% or so of the projects at NASA. So you're
Wow.
actually helping us. We were making so much money off of this like frozen pizza that President Obama actually cut our funding, not because like we weren't relevant anymore, but because we were making too much money off of frozen pizzas.
Wow. Well, now let's ask about. I'd like to ask you both about food's slightly slipperier cousin, which is drinks. So, Dr. Wakeman, what can you tell us about drinks?
Well,
How
drinks,
that works?
I mean, drinks are, drinks and food are they're more similar than you'd think. Because drinks are really just food in a different state of matter. You can take normal food and collapse the food waveform down into a liquid,
Wow.
or even a gas.
Okay.
So really, there's symmetry between food and drinks. Food can become drinks, drinks can become food. They can traverse through all 5 states of matter. Depending on the conditions, what kind of food it is, and where it fits in the new food pyramid.
So food and drink, it's like a kind of like a scale, and you can jump through all of those different states of food.
Right.
Wow. So I believe you've used the example before in your work of the melting cone.
Right.
Is that right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. So the melting cone it's really kind of the introductory, the principle of food matter transition, because it starts out as a solid ice cream cone. It starts out in that solid form, and then if you leave it in your back pocket for too long, it melts and it becomes liquid ice cream, or what we call a milkshake.
Wow.
And then if you freeze that again, you could put it in your home freezer, or you could send it up to space. and it becomes a solid milkshake. It's not quite ice cream, but it's not quite a milkshake.
Right.
So it's totally changed its form. Its flavor profile, even then, is adjusted by the temperature change.
Right. Right. Wow. So, Doctor Hastings, I'd just like to ask you real quick. All this talk of freezing and unfreezing, because you think about refrigeration a little bit, and as NASA, because space is the coldest. It's just the coldest place on Earth. So, what are you considering using space as a way to refrigerate things? As could we use space as a kind of giant refrigerator?
So it's funny that you actually say that, because that's already how refrigerators work. Refrigerators are we basically go up into space and we mine out small sections of space, and then we put them into cubes, and then we put these cubes into a larger rectangle, and that's your refrigerator.
Wow.
So when you're reaching into your fridge to pull out food, you're actually reaching into space.
Wow. I never really thought about it like that. Wow. So now I'd like to ask you both real quick about, recently there's been a lot of places like Chipotle that are, it's getting very popular, and, canned food has been very popular for a while. So there's been a real trend in America towards, cylinder-based foods, foods that are contained in a cylinder.
Yep.
So, how are you, Dr. Wakeman, as a food scientist, and you, Dr. Hastings, as a NASA researcher, what do you think about that? What are you doing? How are you adapting to that?
So, to me, it really only makes sense that cylindrical foods are becoming more and more popular, because the cylinder is really the most ergonomic shape for a food and for most objects.
That is true.
I mean, you see them in everyday life. Cups, they're cylindrical. Pens, pencils, they're mostly cylindrical.
Rockets
are also cylindrical.
Rockets are cylindrical.
And the thing is, it's this ergonomic shape that's made it so popular in this fast-paced society, because we're picking up speed. Stuff needs to be done faster than ever in the global marketplace, which is why there's actually a new trend in New York, where on Wall Street they go around eating food right out of the cans, just canned food. And it's because it's really convenient. They get all the nutrition they need, and all they have to carry around is a little can.
So this is like very big with like the Wall Street types.
Yeah, very very big with the money makers. As they say, and you see a lot of them. Canned yams are really the most popular now, because as most people know, the U.S.'s prime export right now is canned yams.
Wow.
So it's really, when you see somebody on Wall Street eating canned yams, it's a symbol of solidarity with the U.S. economy, that the U.S. is the first and foremost producer of canned yams in the world.
That's really something. So now let's go to Dr. Hastings. Dr. Hastings, what do you think about this?
So, to me, the whole sort of like the whole cylinder craze.
Right.
I don't mean to brag, but we kind of saw that coming, because food is a very abstract thing. And when we look at it, our mind can't quite process what the food is, which is,
Yeah, okay.
which is why food comes in so many different shapes and sizes. That which I see as a hot dog, you may see as a hamburger. But it just looks sort of the same, and we have this sort of like vocabulary that allows us to look at one thing and says, okay, this is what this is.
Right.
And the sort of I guess popularity of the cylinder comes from the sort of the human species, our sort of like subconscious, as trying to take food as an abstract thing and form it into a species-wide shape that we can all see and all be like, that is food.
Okay.
And it's pretty interesting because this is sort of starting to move out of just food, and it's going into all sort of other things. YouTube is a prime example of this. YouTube.
It's a tube.
It's a tube, which is a cylinder.
That's right.
Exactly. And so you're seeing this outside of food, and pretty sure in the next few years, I think we're going to see a sort of, I guess, complete cylinder takeover
Wow.
of society as we know
So
it.
we're moving towards like one shared
Cylinder, yes.
cylinder
Pretty soon,
for all of America.
there are some people out there who theorize that by the year, I think it's 2055, the Earth will
2055.
actually morph into a cylinder.
Wow. That's the power of positive thinking.
That's the power
Right
of the
there.
human collective subconscious and our third eyes.
Wow. So I think we're just about ready to wrap up here. But now I'd like to ask you both the big question. What is your favorite food?
Oh, I
and
knew this was
Dr. Wakeman, you can start.
All right. Well, my favorite food, it's actually, some would say it's many foods. My research team and I went and took some core samples sometime last year, and we dug down a few hundred feet, really, and in this core sample was contained all of the foods that were consumed by that society in the past few hundred years. So what we did, we all just gathered around a table, we cut it into pieces, and I just took a little sliver down the whole 300-foot length, and I just tried all of the flavors at once, and really like every microsecond was like experiencing a decade in food and a decade in culture. So it was a beautiful eye-opening experience for me, and that's probably my favorite food experience so far.
Wow. And Dr. Hastings?
So, my favorite food is the reason that I joined NASA. Yeah, that's what it's called. And it's really, it's not actually food. My favorite food is space.
Space.
Because really, when you think about it, space is just where food is not. And space is the absence of food. And so it's really like when you go to space, you step out of what you are. And you're in this sort of nothingness that is not food. And that's scary to a lot of people, but that's really interesting to me because it proves that there is life outside of food, which I think is a neat concept.
Yeah.
So it makes you appreciate what you have all that much more.
And it makes you sort of, I guess, it makes you something. That's for sure.
That is for sure. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you both for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Yes,
and
thank you.
We got some Brian Eno for you coming up in a little bit. So thanks for listening, everybody, and stay tuned.